Everybody ready? Ready?
Yep. Tell me when. Now?
Yep.
Good evening, everybody. This is the December 20th, 2021 meeting of the Yellow Springs School Board meeting. I'd like to welcome everybody here and ask everybody to please sign in over there at the front door. And if you would like to make any community comments, please let me know. There's a sign-in sheet for that as well. All right. I think we're ready, right? We are ready. All right. I would like to call the meeting to order and proceed with roll call.
Hahn. Mayor Hemmick.
Here.
McQueen.
Here.
Turner.
Here.
Rios.
Here. All right, we're going to move into 1.3, which is the oath of office for a newly appointed board member. So there's Tammy and Lisa. Step up to the microphone. I appreciate it.
Just raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Louisa Vieri Rios,
I, Luisa Vieri Rios,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully and impartially
and that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge my duties
discharge my duties
as board member
as a board member
of the said Yellow Springs Exempted Village School District,
of the said Yellow Springs Exempted School District,
Greene County, Ohio,
Greene County, Ohio,
to the best of my ability
to the best of my ability,
and in accordance with the laws now in effect
and in accordance with the laws now in effect,
and hereafter to be enacted
and hereafter to be enacted,
during my continuance in said office
during my continuance in said office,
and until my successor is chosen and qualified.
and until my successor is chosen and qualified.
And then you please respond with I will.
I will.
Okay, great, that's it. Congratulations.
Congratulations and welcome aboard. Okay. Okay, we're going to move into the approval of the minutes. Is there a motion? All right, any conversation, communication, discussion about any of this? Okay. Ready? You ready? Roll call?
Mayor Hemmick.
Yes.
McQueen.
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Vieri Rios.
Yes.
All right, again, I'll acknowledge everybody who's present here, and if you haven't signed in, I ask that you sign in at the table there. If you would like to make any comments, community comments, please sign in that, on that sheet too, please. And let's take that. Okay. 2.1, communications. I think we're good. Any community comments?
Yes.
One? Okay. That's Eli.
Good evening, Madam President, and I don't know for this evening. My name's Eli Hurwitz, and I'm here representing the Yellow Springs Education Association, and I want to just take a moment to thank Sylvia, Aida, and Steve, who's not here, for your service on our school board and for representing the community and supporting us as teachers. Thank you very much. And this is the the last 3 school board members that put me into the position I'm in, so I want to thank you for hiring me. Thank you very much. And as we go into season 3 of 2020, and with a new cast on the school board, I'm looking forward to seeing how the show turns out. I typically do come and represent the association with just some of the wonderful things that our teachers have been doing. So on my phone here I have a list of some wonderful things that our social studies department at the high school has done, and middle school. We had an amazing Jacawa field trip to Sinclair. The 8th grade students designed some amazing magazine covers representing 3 areas of gender in our country, past, present, and future. They worked with a group of professionals and artists to critique their work. In the high school, Hannah and Brandon both, and this is in social studies, but Ms. Corrigan and Mr. Lowry organized a career day for their juniors in advisory, which is a wonderful way to introduce our juniors to a variety of different careers, bringing in 12 not normally thought of careers all the time. I don't have the whole list here, but there were some pretty good opportunities for experiencing careers over 2 different days. And then our government and econ class are doing a unit looking at the monetary and opportunity costs of college expenses and sources of income that students would be looking at. But mostly, again, thank you guys very much for your service here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Alrighty. Yes, Scott, you want to step up for that? Can you just say who you are?
Good evening. My name's Scott Pfeiffer. I live at 340 Stewart Drive in the village, and I wanted to come tonight also to thank the board members who are leaving for their service. I don't have children in school. My children are all grown, but and furthermore, of the 3 schools that I interviewed with when I graduated following my 7-year undergraduate stint at Wright State, Yellow Springs did not hire me as a social studies teacher, but it worked out okay. Oakwood didn't hire me either. They were my 1 and 2 choices, and I did end up working at Centerville for my whole career. And I wanted to work here because I knew that Yellow Springs, along with Oakwood, were the 2 districts that were here compared with every other district in terms of their reputation for supporting schools and doing the kinds of things that I thought were important for young people. When I retired, I chose to build a house in Yellow Springs and move back here in large part because of that very reason. And I wanted to thank you. I of course have my own perspective on all of the drama, and I didn't come to bring up any of the bad memories of the past few months. But as you have struggled with the issues of the school facilities problem for the past 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 years, I thought to myself, wow, they're really going out of their way to seek citizen input and to get advice from people. Having been through some of that as an administrator in my previous job, I thought, no, we'd have done about half of that, is what we would have done. So I appreciate the extraordinary lengths to which you go to involve the community in what's going on. I know you have an incredibly difficult job trying to balance the competing interests, and I also understand that's why you make the big bucks. I know what those big bucks are, unless they've changed it lately. It was $120 a week and $5,000 a year or something like that. But I want to thank you. It's difficult work that you do, but it's entirely worth it. I hope the new board will be as good as you've been, and I just want to thank you as a citizen. But we appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Very kind. All right. Sorry? No. Is there anybody else who hasn't signed in who would like to speak? Okay, moving on to Treasurer's Report. 3.1. I'm sorry? Oh, excuse me, 2.3, district honors, recognitions, and gifts.
Thank you.
Sorry.
First, it's with great gratitude that I recommend the board accept the following donations to Yellow Springs Schools. That is a donation of $300 from Yellow Springs Community Foundation, and that was for the annual holiday senior lunch and dessert. And then the donation of $380 from Ms. Carrie Berkey to McKinney Middle School, Yellow Springs High School. Board President, our reports tonight are tabled for some other recognitions this evening. So I have something I want to read, and then I know the principals would like to share some things. So if you will allow me.
I certainly will.
We have some special recognition during this portion of our agenda. First, our treasurer for the past 3 years has decided that she's really ready for other things. Previously retired, Tammy Emmerich brought the district her years of experience and insight. She helped in the reorganization of the treasurer's department and brought efficiency to our systems through the new e-finance program. I know I speak on behalf of the district and the board office when I say she will be missed, especially her unique sense of humor. So, thank you, Tammy. Earlier tonight, as you saw, Luisa Villa-Rios was sworn in to take the board position of Sylvia Ellison, who resigned in November to pursue other interests. I want to thank Sylvia publicly for her 10 years of dedicated service as a board member. In January, I get the pleasure of working with 3 newly elected board members. So that means tonight is the last meeting for 3 board members. Steve Kahn, who is not with us tonight because of a personal conflict, served successfully on this board for 8 years. Aida Merhemek, who is present this evening, served for an incredible 16 years as a board member. And Steve McQueen, present as well, served 4 years as board member. In today's highly politicized climate, holding a seat as a publicly elected board member is not easy. Critical race theory, COVID-19 health and safety policies, remote learning, universal masking, mandatory vaccinations. These are just a few of the topics that have consumed boards of education and superintendents the past 2 years. Many board members in Ohio this past year have been, at best, criticized and or demonized within their local print or social media, and at worst, threatened with physical violence. Fortunately, this was not no experience quite so much, but it did exist and not far from us. In many ways, this is a thankless job. I want you to hear from me how important you are as a board member. The role of board member is critical to the success of the district. I'm sure that all of you, having been on the board for a number of years, know that this is not a special issue endeavor. When you are a board member, your primary role is policymaking and supporting the work of the superintendent and the treasurer in implementing the policies. You did that, and I'm grateful. Yellow Springs schools are better because of the part you have played in your time on the board. I wish you only the best in all of your future endeavors. Now I'm going to allow Megan and Jack to speak. They would like to say some words.
I have not been here long, so this is my first semester in Yellow Springs, but I have been in many different districts and around different districts and school boards. And it is obvious here in Yellow Springs that you are dedicated, and it truly goes back to that. It takes a village to raise a child, and you are part of that village. So I thank you for the opportunity that you have given me, and I thank you for supporting the students and supporting the work that is being done in Yellow Springs schools. So when I knew we were going to, recognize you this evening, I went to some 4th grade students, and I asked them what did they want to do for the board members that were outgoing. And I just want to preface this with, I was a high school algebra teacher, so art really is not my thing, and I did not want to put any responsibility on the teachers because, as you know, the week before winter break can be kind of crazy in a school. So I said, I'm going to take this on myself, and then I decided to get my wisdom teeth pulled a week ago. So I'm trying to talk to first graders and second graders, with my mouth hurting. And so they came up with this little project. And it kind of goes back to that village and helping these students grow. And they know that you will continue to watch them grow. And as part of this community, you will continue to support them. So they came up with now, I tried to give instructions, put your thumbprints at the top of the tree. So I can't make any promises on what these look like. So the Mills Lawn students came up with these canvases for each of these. So, thank you.
Donna wants to say some things and then we'll have Jack.
I just wanted to let the board members and the board members know how much I have appreciated having them as board members. I've worked here for about 7 years, and I've worked with other school districts, and I can tell that it is special to work with the group of people that I've worked with here. The board members, along with the administration, basically set the tone for the district. And when you come to Yellow Springs, there's a sense of belonging, there's a sense of commitment, and there's a humbleness and kindness that is here that just permeates. And I think a large part that is because of the tone that those board members have set along with the administration. So I want to thank you for your work in the district.
We actually have 2 students who have something that they're going to read. Come on up. This is Hallie and Autumn.
Microphone?
Yeah.
So I'm actually new here this year, and I've actually felt really welcomed and it's been great. I don't know if she's someone new. Yeah. So, but we wrote this card, and it just says we really appreciate you guys giving us support throughout your time working for Yellow Springs. And as a student body, we appreciate your efforts to give us the best education during these hard times. With last year being online, it was a challenge for everyone, but your help and insurance for our safety and help us through it. Thank you so much. So,
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for taking the time out.
I think I may be the longest tenured person in the room, actually. I started here as a baby 16 years ago, so I started about the same time. For me, I appreciate all the work that you all have done collectively with the board, but I also just appreciate getting to know you as people. So that's looked different for each of you. Aida, whether that was working on the handbook, the Into the Wildlife Drives. Steve, I haven't got to know you as well as I would like to have. And then Sylvia, through a variety of capacities with the children, and getting to know your children, even Steve's, who are graduated as well. I just appreciate the interactions that I've had with you and the support. And when I started here as a teacher, I really had no idea what the Board of Education even did. So to kind of come full circle and to get to see the amount of work that goes into this, and the amount of support and thought and care, and also just being eyes and ears in the village to help shape who we are as a school. I just want to thank you for all the time and energy you give.
Okay, so now we're going to have you come up. Not quite finished. Sorry.
Okay, if Steve and Aida and Sylvia come up, and then we have something for you, and then you have time to make some comments. So these are vases. I want to say that they're crystal, but they're not. Steve, thank you.
Yeah, right, exactly. No, I appreciate it, to say the least.
Sylvia?
Name on it.
And there is one for Dr. Khan. Thank you. All right, and take over to Dr. Khan.
It really was a pleasure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I'll just move up here since I'm right here. Yeah, 16 years is a long time, but I have to say it went by pretty darn quickly. I have enjoyed this position, dare I say, and that's because I'm a lifelong learner and I appreciate learning, I appreciate making mistakes, I appreciate helping, and I certainly value human development more than anything else. And so as I've been on this continuum, I feel like I have learned so much from everybody who I've worked with, and appreciate you all for what you've brought to our district and to our students. And it's the students who keep me motivated and keep me focused and keep me going. So Scott, I appreciate your comments. But it's the students who I really care deeply about and believe that most of the people that I've served with have felt similarly. So thank you for all of this. I appreciate having had this experience, and I'll miss everybody, but I'll be here. So thank you.
Okay. Excuse me, I've been dreading this for a little bit because I did want to at least attempt to do this for a little longer than I have. And who knows what the future may hold. But it's really been such a pleasure to work with all of you, even Sean and other folks who have left, Matt, these kind of folks, but also, and with the new, how things have changed, how we work together, this community is the best to work with. They make it easy. The teachers, I just really want to say, I got to learn so much more about the work they put in, the efforts, and die-hard efforts that they go through, as well as the principals and the superintendent. I just can't say enough. You got to let me live out a dream of speaking to a graduation. Always wanted to do that, made mom and dad proud, So thank you for one of the best 4 years. And once again, who knows what the future may hold, but I've learned so much, and there's so much more to learn. And I'll be close by. I'm still on the Commercialers Board, so you'll be seeing me, but officially up here, I will miss that seat, to say the least. It was a pleasure.
Okay, so I wasn't clued in totally to what was going on this evening until kind of later in the day today, and I had wanted to say some things about people who I appreciate, and I wasn't sure. And then when I sort of figured out, that this major award was coming, I would take the opportunity. And I'm a little emotional, so I have notes. So first I wanted to say thank you to the outgoing board members for their due diligence and thoughtfulness and fidelity to the roles and responsibilities of their board positions over the years. So the people leaving, Aida, who I've had the pleasure of serving with the longest on the board, who's also just a rockin' neighbor and friend. And that's kind of how a lot of this is. You know the people through your role here, but you also know them a lot of other ways, which enriches it. Steve Kahn, who's not here this evening, who's also been wonderful. I mean, the Steves, really. Steve McQueen. And then the people sitting on the board this evening who are remaining, who I very much appreciate. TJ, who came on first as to fulfill a vacant seat and hit the road running and took it seriously and learned what the job really entailed and has been a wonderful part of the whole partnership. And Louisa, who's hitting the ground running and who I very much appreciate and have had some brief but really productive and enjoyable interaction with, and I wish you all the best. And then our district leadership, kind of this dream team of a new superintendent and new treasurer who came in within months of each other with all kinds of things to work on and goals and wonderful thoughts, and probably Tammy's wonderful thoughts were about how she could help us for about 6 months until we hired a new treasurer, and then thankfully for us she decided to stay longer out of retirement. And then COVID hit, and that's been a whole other ball of wax for everybody. So I just want to say for all of you, it's been really a pleasure serving with you in this role. I also want to thank, there are a lot of other administrators, teachers, staff, et cetera, that over the years in a variety of ways I've had the pleasure of interacting with, some of it as a board member, some of it as a parent, and some of it as a community member, and that's been an extreme pleasure. I do want to overtly call out, because I am a public health professional, the COVID education situation has been and continues to be, as there are people pretending it's not still here, continues to be a real kick in the pants, and I am extremely proud of this school district and how everyone here has handled it, and it's been a moving target. But I mean especially our promotion of and hosting of vaccine clinics as soon as the age groups were approved, our continuing respect for and enforcement of masking. We are surrounded by school districts that, picking magical dates where masking wasn't needed anymore would be a good idea, and that is not so. So we're very fortunate that our kids in this district have that kind of leadership, and I'm just very proud of that. And I guess just going forward, my hope is that there will be the same due diligence regarding, you said it best, Jack, I have no idea what the school board does. And that's fine. And then when you're on the school board, you really need to learn what it is, and you need to realize what the role is, and you're serving the needs of the school district, and those who work, teach, and need to learn in the school district. And that's my hope going forward, and I just thank you all so much. Thank you.
All right, take two, Tammy.
Okay, are you ready?
Okay.
This report is for the general fund, and it's as of the end of November of 2021. And I know that's kind of small, but I'll just talk about it a little bit. Our revenue is around $39,000 under projected, which is relatively close. And our expenditures are a little over $309,000 under budget. So when you put that together, on a cash basis, we're $270,000 ahead of budget. So as compared to our budget, we're doing quite well at this point in time.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Tammy? Okay, moving on to the adoption of the consent calendar, 4.1 through 4.2. Is there a motion?
I'll move. I'll second.
All right.
The first item is just a small increase to the appropriations for the general fund. And then the second item is the acceptance of the amounts and rates. And what this is the county auditor sends us the amounts and rates that we need to adopt in December of every year. And basically, When we adopted, this gives him the authorization to set the tax rates for the bond retirement fund and our 2 emergency levy funds.
All right, roll call.
McQueen,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Vieri Rios,
Yes.
Mayor Hammond.
Yes. Okay, moving into the superintendent's report, recommendations.
Yeah, so in my update, I want to talk about several things. So first, what I have been starting off my update with for quite a while now, and that is health and safety around COVID-19. We just finished our 5 to 11 vaccination clinic, so highly successful. We are continuing to maintain our policies that we established a while ago, universal masking, we have air filters in every room, social distancing as we can, vaccination, that's our first line of defense, and so I think we did an excellent job as a district, both adults and children, and our parents and families in the community. I think everybody takes it seriously, and so we did that. Folks who were eligible to get a booster shot did. If you haven't, it's never too late. So we've done lots of things really to keep us safe, and I think as we come really close to the end of the first semester, we have done really well. We have had some positive cases, we have had some quarantines, but all of those were from outside of school, save one. And it's going to happen, and we know it's going to happen, so how do we best approach this, and I think that we have. I sent out a one call last week because we had a wonderful supply of Binax Now at-home COVID-19 tests. And they do have an expiration date, so the state said, please use them. So we gave them to every staff member. Families came to pick them up. We distributed widely, and as of, I think today at about 2 o'clock, we had about 111 left. Leslie took them over to the Greene County Public Library. So please, 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 if you still need one, take it. I did one this morning, actually. It's easy to do. It just gives you whatever peace of mind you might need in a time where it's hard to have any peace of mind. So I say this to say we are continuing our efforts, and we'll continue to do so. We've been fighting Delta, and now Omicron is on the horizon, and so we're just going to keep at it and keep our protocols in place. I want to talk about another part of school safety, and that is the safety as it pertains to violence. So, a few weeks ago there was the shooting in Oxford, Michigan. Since that, nationally, and in Ohio and in Greene County, schools have encountered an astounding number of threats of violence. Whether it's from outside call-in, social media posts, a kid in school says something, and students, because they are not adults and they're still developing, sometimes say stupid things and do stupid things. I sent home a communication to parents asking them to please talk to children. Sometimes children are pressured, social media, it's hard. It's hard for adults. I can't even imagine what it's like for children. But I say this to say that there has been a tremendous increase in the number of threats. So Greene County, the Greene County Prosecutor's Office, Greene County Juvenile Detention, they are taking this seriously, and in January they are having a meeting for all administrators of Greene County school districts, and I will attend with Mr. Hatter and Ms. Winston. But I just want to say that we are on top of it. And threats like that they put you in a difficult position. Because we just no longer live in a world where we can say that child was kidding, or there's no real validity to this. Because I don't ever, ever, ever want to be in a position where I say that and something happens. The safety of our children and the safety of our staff and community, we are small, is our utmost priority. So I just want you to know that we are paying attention to this. Second, kind of in the same vein, COVID threats. Again, like national statistics bear out, we are seeing a significant rise in mental health concerns from our students. They were virtual, our students in particular, for a year plus. That's hard. Some students fared okay, others not so much. So at the middle school and high school, in conjunction with our school social worker and an organization that we've worked with over the years, we're going to do a brief 10-minute screener. Parents are not required to do this, so Mr. Haddard will take care of that with all of his parents. But what that does is it assesses risk level, and then a discussion can be had with parents for other work. So I think that's an important step in our approach to support our children. And that's called the Screening, Brief Intervention, Referral, Treatment, the SBIRT, if you are looking for the acronym for that. And that's TCN Family Solutions and Wayne County ESC Prevention Coordinator that we work with. They will be responsible for the administration of it. The next update I have is, I've mentioned before that the district is engaged in some equity work. So we have an equity leadership team that has been meeting as part of a cohort out of Montgomery County. That work continues, and we are just at the beginning of our journey. But as part of that, we are going to do a mini pilot with CARE. And CARE stands for the Center for Anti-Racist Education, which is part of STAND, which is Stand Up for Children organization, a nonprofit. And so the mini pilot does not involve students. What it is it's a curriculum review tool. So our teachers will say, take a text, a novel that they use, will rate it over 5 characteristics, and then at the end they get 1 of 3 scores. I think it's use caution, or stop and think, use caution, and good to go. And the point of this is to give us a starting point to talk about what we use as curriculum resources, why we use them, and are they meaningful, and do they have purpose in our curriculum, and are they meaningful for our students? So it's not a heavy lift, and it's a pilot, a mini pilot that the equity leadership team is highly interested in tackling. So we will begin that after the first of the year. Okay, questions about that? Okay, enrollment reports.
No questions, but just some accolades. I really appreciate the whole staff, faculty, administration has done throughout this time. It's so very much the length of time that we've been dealing with this, and we did too just now. And so I just want to let you know how much I appreciate it and what a difference it has made in terms of our children's safety and security and so forth. So thank you all. I know it hasn't been easy. I can't imagine how everybody has managed it here, let alone at home. And so thank you.
Thank you. I think certain things are becoming routine, which is good, because I don't know that we're ever going to get to a point where we're away from this completely, and the world has just changed. So, but thank you. This is the time of year for our enrollment report. So I want to go over a couple of these documents with you. just to provide some highlights. So before I begin, I want to say if you do all the math, you might see variances of 1 or 2 students, maybe from year to year or from one report to the next. And so Christina Vanda, our EMIS coordinator who does this work, that really comes from the time of year that a student may enroll or leave. And so you might find those very slight variances. And there's also one other thing I'll point out that's a variance. But this is really the historical view of Yellow Springs regular enrollment and open enrollment from 1978 on. So it's by grade level, by year. And you can see that in 2022, which is this academic year, excuse me, our total, where it says without PS, just so everyone knows, PS is preschool. So our total enrollment is 716, 193 students open enrolled, which means our resident students are 526, which gives us a percentage of just about 27%. And if you remember, by policy, our maximum is 33%. The interesting thing that I find with this year's data is that while we have the same, relatively the same number of open enrolled students as last year, the number of our resident students has increased. So that's that first document. So the second document, and I've taken, this is certainly more than 15 years, from 1978 on, but I've grouped everything else as a 15-year history, because I think it's easier to look at more discrete chunks. So this report, says enrollment and open enrollment, 15-year history. No, go out. Nope. Sorry. That. Correct. Okay. So this list, by grade level, by year, resident enrollment, open enrollments. So if you know the report, the spreadsheet I just showed you listed by grade level, but in composite totals. This has the breakdown of grade level by resident and open enrollments for the past 15 years. And then you can see the percentages at the bottom. Yep. Now it should say incoming open enrollment, 15-year history. Yep, that's it. Okay, so can you make that bigger a little bit? So the cell in yellow, I highlighted that because I think it's an error, but I can't prove it. So, and it's from 2010. Just know that the data here are calculated using that number. And the reason I think it's an error is because when you look, so what this says is, where do our open enrolled students come from? So if you, and that is in the Kettering row. If you look at Kettering, at that point, it's 1 or 2. So I think it's a typo, but I can't prove it. So just so you know what that yellow refers to. But on this, can you go to the last column, please? Here's what I find interesting. So this is for FY22. Now what you can't see is this whole spreadsheet, but I can tell you that there are 4 districts that comprise just about 70% of our open enrolled population. And that is Greenon at 22.3% roughly, Xenia at 21.8%, Springfield at 14.5%, and Dayton City at 10.9%. But what this spreadsheet does is tells you every school district from whom we receive open enrolled students. Historically as well. Okay. It should say 15-year enrollment, 2008 to, yep. So this is another way graphically to see how our open enrollment compares to our resident enrollment. And again, it's that 15-year period from 2008 to 2022. Okay. This should say Yellow Springs residents enrolling out of district. Okay, so as we take in students, we know that we have students who leave us to go to other schools. So I've been giving you a 15-year history. I can't readily find 2012, 11, 10, 9, or 8, but this is it from 2013 on. So the number of students, again, by year that enroll out. So as you can see from 21 to 22, we have a decrease. And then the last one is out-of-district enrollment. Yep. So this tells you for this academic year, here are our resident children by grade level enrolling out of Yellow Springs and where they're going. So you see, 14, for example, are at Dayton STEM, 23 are enrolled out to private. And that breakdown is down below. So of that 23, 20 are at the Antioch School, 1 is at Miami Valley, and then the 2 others. The open and rolled out column, scroll up please. That's open and rolled out to another public district. Community schools, and then of course we do have some foster placed children. And that is the enrollment component.
Was it raised in 2021 due to the virtual?
I believe it was due to virtual. Can I prove that? No, but I would suspect.
Thank you for all of that. That's always so informative and interesting, of course, to have that time span.
On that very first spreadsheet you showed had non-OE members. Those are the ones that are in the district and attending, not the one not inclusive of these numbers, right?
Non-OE are our resident students.
Right, but they don't include all the students, we still have that 100 or so who choose to go elsewhere.
No, our resident students who attend us. Yeah. And again, I want to reiterate, there's, in the past, here at these meetings, we've talked about the amount of money we get in for an open enrolled student. Consequently, that same amount goes out. But that total in or out is more than what we would get from the state foundation aid. All of that is changing because of the new school funding model, which will be certainly an endeavor for the new board to engage in, because it's not, again, surprise, pretty complicated from A to B. But that's coming. But open enrolled students, what we know is that they typically have some connection. Parent went here, grandparent went here, grandparent lives here. They come because they like the belief system of the school, they like the belief system of the village. So they're very important to who we are.
Well, I think we heard tonight how important it was for that young woman who hasn't been here that long, who feels welcomed and really happy to be here. And I think the pretty darn consistent comment, correct me if I'm wrong, Jack, is how those open enrollment students just have appreciation of what they have here that they hadn't had previously. And I think they are really valuable in sort of helping our kids recognize what's hard to recognize when you've only been here, right? That there's wonderful things here that our kids don't necessarily know about because they've been here for so long. Yeah, thanks for this, Terry. It's always fascinating. Anybody have anything else? All right, we are moving on to the adoption of the administration portion of the consent calendar, and that is 6.1 through 6.7. Do I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Second.
Roll call.
Are you ready for a roll call?
Yeah,
We want to discuss. Okay. Well, wait a minute. Can I just go over some things?
Yeah.
You think, we think we're at a different spot. You
Say
ready?
that again? Did I move? Did I jump ahead again?
Yeah, we just moved so that to discuss.
Oh, yeah, 6.1
Yes.
through 6.7. Yeah.
Thank you. So just a couple of things. 6.1, if you remember in November, there was a whole body of policies that you had for first reading. That is this group for second reading. There is one exception, and that is 6.3. And so policy allows us to do a technical correction when there's been an error in the first read. But I put it on here so everyone would know what it is. And so in November, policy 1691 on public participation was changed due to a recent federal court case. So involving a school district near here about public participation. And this had to do with all of the very contentious public participation you've seen perhaps on the news at board meetings. The technical corrections on the November policy that was put up, when we work with Neola, they strike out what's old and then in green is what needs to be changed. But they struck out for the length of time, the formal length of time, minutes, and put hours, so it reads as 30 hours. And that's the technical correction for that one. 6.2, so if that makes sense, 6.1 and 6.3 are connected. It's really just the second reads. 6.2 is a first read for our Title IX policies. And so in August 2020, federal law changed, as it does frequently. And so we had to make a lot of changes in all of our Title IX policies. And so they're parallel policies. So for example, you might have Title IX policies for staff, certified staff, then there are some for classified staff, and then there are some for students. And so they all tend to run parallel. In August 2021, there was clarification of some language, some definitions, and that is clarification that is coming from the law. It's not something we can say, oh, we really don't want to do that. We have to take that federal law clarification. And the reason this is on here is because we asked for an update to the naming of our Title IX compliance officer, which again, we were required by the law to do. That's Donna. But in the old document, it had Donna and Matt Hausch. So in addition to making the name correction, because the changes are only the clarifications of language, it's on here. That's why you see, you won't find Matt's name in here anymore. You'll see it as a strikeout, and then you'll see the language clarification. And it's first read. The other things, quickly, every year we have to do an annual report saying we follow the law in relation to our food service program. So Donna does a great job of that, and this is she's verified that, and so this is the document that we have to submit. We have an MOU with the Teachers Association for the remainder of this year. 6.5, which is for OTES 2.0. OTES is the Ohio Teacher Evaluation System. And so we are fully in it, and there are lots of things that we have to kind of hammer out in terms of language, but this allows us to do this for this year. Again, it was different last year. Why was it different? Because we were virtual, and so we had to have an MOU around that. So this will take us to the end of the year. As you know, this is a negotiations year for us, so as we do that, we'll talk about how this is embedded into the next thing, again, due to a change in the state teacher retirement system and licensure requirements for school nurses, They are now paying into SPRS instead of SERS. So this is an MOU to accept them into the association. I will tell you that at some point in the future, we will have to come back about salary because these things just don't line up, so we'll have to have those discussions. And then, lastly, in this section is qualifications for substitute teachers pursuant to Section 4 of 701. The long and the short of it is, nobody can find a substitute. So the state has said, okay, we are going to pull back on our minimum requirements, and we are going to allow even folks who do not have a college degree to substitute if they do A, B, C, D, and E, and the district signs off that they have an appropriate background check, etc. So Donna has been working hard on that, so we will see an attachment that lists kind of our checklist. And that is, I don't know that we can bring in anyone, but this is pain that is being felt by every district in the state and nationally. And that is everything for Section 6.
All right.
Turner,
Yes.
Erie Rios,
Yes.
Hammond,
Yes.
McQueen.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to the personnel portion of the consent calendar, 7.1. Is there a motion?
So moved.
I'll second. All right.
Okay, Board, I ask that you approve the Schedule B, C, and E as presented. A word about Schedule B, which is certificated. You see a list of all these substitutes. That's because there's been another change in the law where we have to reapprove them every semester.
Every semester.
Yes, don't ask why, there's no.
I won't ask why.
You
You don't have enough to do,
I'm going with all my time.
All right, all right. Anybody have anything else? Okay, roll call.
Erie Rios,
Yes.
Hammond,
Yes.
McQueen,
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Moving on to board communications. We need to set the date for the organizational meeting and budget hearing on January 13th.
Board, I took the liberty of following past practice, which was before the regularly scheduled board meeting, so, which would be 6 o'clock on
13th?
the 13th.
2022. All right, and then we need to appoint the president pro tem for the organizational meeting. And I would imagine that would be TJ.
Yes, one of us. I am happy to volunteer.
Thank you. Louisa, I won't mind that, right? No, I don't mind. All right. Okay. And then January discussion.
I think we need a motion and a second on that.
Oh,
And a vote.
excuse me. Okay. Is there a motion and a second on that?
I move.
Second.
Hammond,
Yes.
McQueen,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Erie Rios.
Yes. All right. January agenda discussion.
I put that in there as this is what's been discussed at the organizational meeting in the past, so hopefully it will help the incoming board members know what was on there. I will just make a comment, some of these committees may be more ad hoc than standing, so just, I listed what I had.
All right. Green County Career Center report.
Yes. We had dinner 20 students who've already shown interest, something along those lines. Between 380 and 420, like something along those lines. Which is the highest it's ever been this early. So that new building has absolutely brought a lot more attention to it. And our numbers have already gone up, but at this rate next year, it looks like we're going to go up, let's say it's 7% projected. So it's definitely been a huge help to have all that space and the extra different things that we're going to be teaching. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that in my report this month, I have a better one next month when I just looked at it beforehand. It was a really good dinner.
All right, moving on to 8.5, thanks Steve, and other board member items. Anybody have anything?
I have one point I'd like to say. Oh,
I forgot to mention, Terry, thank you, everything I know about how the school operates, the budget-wise, is because of you. And in my speech, I wanted to make sure I absolutely thank you. And I mentioned some people from the past and stuff, and this is another one that was extremely helpful to my yes.
yeah, I just wanted to take a second. I'm so good here, but Steve Kahn, old Steve. Old Steve Kahn here. I want to thank you guys, kind of Lou and Steve for all the time on board, and of course Tammy for 6 months. That went to 3 years. Appreciate a lot. It's been great serving with both of you. Definitely miss sitting up next to you.
Yes, thank you all for your years of service, and I'm looking forward to this next chapter as the torch has been passed. But thank you, all of you, and me as well.
All right. Let's adjourn, huh?
I will so move.
Second?
I second.
Roll call.
McQueen,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Gary Rios,
Yes.
Mayor Hammond.
Yes. Oh, last time?
It's fall.
I have a question for you. Yes. The lady up there in the red sweater, what is she